today we have a full program of some presentations, short presentations, but then afterwards a panel discussion with all the presenters. We will record the whole event, and Stephanie will then distribute also the link. But yeah, let's step into our program. And the topic is KYC in combination with identity, self-sovereign identity, but also with zero knowledge proof. So there are a lot of technical terms, but we try not to be very technical. But I really want to encourage you, if you have any questions, please speak out and we can explain. I think we're a small group. Please come in. And so we are a small group, and we're here to communicate, and not only one-way communication. So to the agenda, myself, I'm Tim Weingärtner. I'm a lecturer at the University of Applied Science. My topic is blockchain, but also self-sovereign identity and identity law. I'm also responsible for startups in our university. So I will give a short introduction, and won't be very technical, into self-sovereign identity and zero knowledge proof. Afterwards, we will have Rolf Rauschenbach, who is still in the train. So we hope that he will make it. Otherwise, we'll switch with Sebastian Hepp. But Rolf Rauschenbach, who is with the BJ, Bundesamt für Justiz here in Switzerland, who is responsible for the eID in Switzerland. I think most of you know that we're in this process of developing an electronic ID also from a legal perspective, so that we get a new law. And Rolf will introduce us where we are at the moment and what we can expect in the next days. Please come in if you're for the KYC event. And then we switch from more technical and legal, stay with the legal side with Sebastian Hepp from MMA lawyers, and he will give us also an introduction to zero knowledge proof, but from a legal perspective. And then afterwards, we will have an input from IMAX about their application on KYC-ID. So that's the idea of the presentations, short presentations, 10 minutes each. So not that we want to overwhelm you with too much information. And then afterwards, we'll have a panel discussion with all speakers. That's also when you can ask questions, but also if you have questions before, please just speak out. And afterwards, we would like to invite you to a small apéro outside. So let's start with self-sovereign identity and zero knowledge proof. Just for me to get an impression, who of you has a technical or more technical background? Okay, and who has a financial background? Okay, and a legal background? Okay, and economic background? Okay, so we have an interdisciplinary group. That's really great. I want to give you a short introduction to self-sovereign identity from a kind of technical perspective and zero knowledge. But first, what is identity? I think when we speak of identity, everybody of us thinks on the ID card. Because that's what we need to show when we travel, when we want to buy alcohol or whatever, to show that we're 18. Perhaps some of you think about, okay, I have a driving license, that's some kind of identity, or that proves that I'm allowed to drive a car or whatever, or my Swiss pass because I take the train. But the identity of a person is much more. So we have a financial identity, with one bank, two banks, couple of banks, healthcare, an identity, but also from a university perspective. Some of you, I think most of you have some education certificate in one way or additional certificates. This is also something that proves your identity and skills and knowledge, perhaps army or military service, but it could also be some shopping, cumulus, or be a member of the local tennis club or golf club. That's all our identity. And when we speak of self-sovereign identity, then let's come back to this picture. Normally today, when I have to show my identity, I have my identity card, put it out and could show it. I hold my identity more or less in my wallet. Okay, there is an expiration date. Yeah, so if I lose it, that at least at some point it gets invalid. But normally, the only time I have to get in contact with government or my city or my canton is when I want to issue it or when they issue it to me. Afterwards, it stays in my wallet, and nobody really gets to know if I show it to some border control, or if I show it at a local kiosk, or if I show it to some other company. That's on my side. And that's also the idea of self-sovereign identity. So an identity that's really stays with you in your wallet, and this time not in the physical wallet, but in a more electronic wallet. So we have this kind of trust triangle. There are different parties that issue parts of my identity, like the government, my ID or my ID, my university certificate, my tennis club, my membership. So these are the issues. Then I'm the holder. I hold my identity in my mobile phone. And then the third party are verifiers. These are those parties that I show my identity to. So they verify, and in case of this identity, they verify because there are some special marks in it, some holograms or whatever, so they trust the government that they issue it, and it's not faked ID. So we have to have some kind of trust between those parties, that the verifier trusts the issuers that everything's correct. So these three parties, I think that's really important to understand this. And when it comes to self-sovereign identity, so an electronic identity, then there's called verifiable credentials issued from the issuer to the holder, and those credentials are with my phone. It's important to understand in self-sovereign identity, the data is with me, not in some repository at the government side, but with me, and I decide to whom I want to show it or not. So I'm responsible when I show it to a verifier, and then comes the trust infrastructure, where I have to have some kind of technical layer that the verifier can verify that these cryptographic pieces, let's call it like this, are correct. So they are signed correct by the issuer. And this can be verified by, on the one hand side, the verified data registry, and then there's a second registry, the trust register, that checks, is this issuer really allowed to issue those credentials? So these two registers we have. We always have the discussion of, is this blockchain or not? as I mentioned at the beginning, my topic is blockchain, but this could be any database. There are advantages and disadvantages. So if I have a distributed database, then if one of the databases are going down, then I still have some spare databases. But this is not responsible for self-sovereign identity that it is. This is a short introduction in self-sovereign identity. So far clear, or any questions? If not, then yeah, got this. So, and I also mentioned, I think it's important to understand that self-sovereign identity is not only an EID. These are my kind of Swiss pass, could be a certificate, could be a health certificate. So we have really the whole topic in one wallet, like you have in your physical wallet, but this time much more certificates. Zero knowledge proof. Who knows what this is? Ever played with this as a child? Who is Walter? Yeah, where's Walter? So you have this kind of picture, and there are a lot of people, and you have to search Walter. Yeah. And now zero knowledge proof. Okay, I can say, okay, here's Walter, and if it's correct, then yeah, you know where Walter is. Yeah, but that's not fun. How can I show you that or convince you that I know where is Walter without showing you the exact place? So that you trust me, I know it, but you still have the fun of looking it up. One way to do this, I just put a big white paper on it with a small hole and place it over Walter. So you see, or I can prove that I know where Walter is because you can look, right? But this, or the original paper, is somewhere under this big white paper. So if I take this away, then you still have to search on the picture. And that's zero knowledge proof. Yeah. So how can I prove something without revealing the data? Another example that you always hear in combination with self-sovereign identity is the age. So when my daughter wants to prove that she's 18 or over 18 by going to a casino, today she has to show her ID, but then everybody knows her birthday, the address, other topics on which are on the ID. With zero knowledge proof, she can prove that she's 18 or over 18 without revealing her birthday. So this is one example. And there are some properties with this. So, soundness, that if I prove that I have to convince the other party or the verifier that this is correct with a high probability. Completeness, that when I'm honest, that I can really convince you, but also that the other party, in this case, the casino, don't get to know more information. So this is a short introduction into zero knowledge proof and self-sovereign identity. And with this, we also have our second speaker, Rolf Rauschenbach, and I would like to hand over to you, and perhaps you just introduce yourself. I think that's better than if I do this.
Sure. Hello, everybody. First of all, I would like to ask for apologies. I'm a little bit sweaty. I think I just made the fastest transfer from the train station to here. I missed my train and it was late. I am here as information officer for the electronic identity of the federal government. And I will give you a very brief overview. I think I have 10 minutes, right? On where do we stand today? We've heard the theory by Tim. Now, what is actually happening in Switzerland? So where are we today? Where do we want to go? What is our end goal? Why all these efforts? And finally, it's not all smooth sailing. What are the main challenges that we believe that we have to somehow tackle. I was interviewed, I think it was last week or so, by the radio from the French part of Switzerland, and they have published this map about the EID landscape in Switzerland. And I would say in one word, currently it's a mess. There are many different kinds of identities also provided by public authorities. I'm not going into details, but I just want to acknowledge at the moment it's not an easy situation. Now, what is the federal government doing to somehow streamline this? We are in a federal setting, so there is no whip with which we can organize everything in one go. But nevertheless, so that you have a little bit of an understanding how we want to get into bring all this into reality. We have launched earlier this year the so-called public sandbox trust infrastructure, where you are kindly invited to participate, to issue and to verify electronic proofs, as it will be possible once hopefully everything is actually in a productive system. But as Tim just mentioned or explained to you, it is already today possible in a secure environment with mainly dummy data, I guess, to issue and to verify such electronic proofs. This sandbox runs on Hyperledger Indy, for those who are a little bit familiar with different tax stacks or sec stacks. However, we have not yet come to a conclusion on which stack we actually want to have the first productive trust infrastructure. We are currently in the process of evaluating different kinds of tech stacks. We have already acquired quite a lot of understanding also what the OpenID Connect for VC is concerned. We are looking now at the BBS Plus, Carry and so on. And there are quite a lot of activities going on. Actually now, as we speak, the Technical Advisory Circle is sitting for the first time. There are experts also from the outside of the federal government are helping us to come up with the right decision. Then on a political and law side, we have planned by the end of the year to have the draft law and the message, the report that explains the law, that will pass in the Federal Council and then can go to the Parliament. So that should happen still this year. Also by the end of this year, this Technical Advisory Circle will publish a white paper on the tech decision, not yet the decision itself, but then the wider community is invited to also contribute and to come up with the decision in Q1 next year. Also, in the beginning of next year, we will launch our first productive pilot. We will do that with the Canton Appenzell Ausserrhoden, where we will issue, or the Canton of Appenzell Ausserrhoden will issue the driver's license for people who are actually learning to drive a car. And instead of getting it on the paper, they will get a wallet for their smartphone, and then the electronic proof, which then also will be able to be verified by the driving teacher, or I don't know how you call that in English, and also by the police. This will be started in the beginning only in Appenzell Ausserrhoden over 24. This then will be rolled out for all Switzerland, not only for cars, but also for other vehicle types. And by doing so, we hope to acquire obviously a lot of experience on the technical level, on the process level, communication level, and so on. We hope that the Parliament will work fast and will be happy with our draft law and will approve it. Sometimes during 25, we assume, at the earliest. It will take at least, we assume 1 year, but that's obviously the autonomy of the parliament, not of us. And then we have the period for the optional referendum. We will see if there will be again a vote or not. If not, and we hope so, the law can enter into force and the trust infrastructure can be launched the earliest by 26. That's at the moment our plan. Okay, now just to reiterate, so to speak, Tim has shown a similar slide with issue holder, verifier, and register or registry. And here you simply see that we are currently already building wallets. We are building the registry. We actually differentiate between base registry and trust registry. We have checkups and other stuff. So that is what we are currently working on. I mentioned the sandbox is on Hyperledger Indy. The driving license pilot will be based on OpenID for VC, OpenID Connect for VC. And then the final productive system, we don't know yet. Why are we doing all this? Tim also mentioned, so far I've been talking only about the electronic identity, but actually also already the driving license. And obviously the aim of the Federal Council is not only to have this infrastructure implemented so that we can issue the federal electronic identity, but also all kinds of other electronic proofs. On ambition level, we would have only the EID. On level 2, we would have other state-issued electronic proofs, such as the mobile driver's license, and other proofs issued by the public sector. But I assume that most of you here in this public are representatives from private organizations, companies, associations, and other institutions, and you will be also kindly invited to use this infrastructure, not only to verify the electronic identity if need be, but also to issue other electronic proofs according to your and your clients' needs. And this is basically free of charge. You can use this infrastructure. It will be made available. The big investment on the behalf of issuers and verifiers is actually to integrate the systems into this infrastructure, but the state itself will not ask for just for one little fee, but that's really negligible. This fee has more the role of a firewall, basically. And this ecosystem that we want to build up is not only an idea or a theory or so on, it's already in the making. You see here already a number of cantons and cities, municipalities and companies and other institutions are doing pilots on the sandbox already before the sandbox. Certain pilots have been done. And I hope that with my speak, some of your logos will be on this slide when I do the next speak. So please get in touch if you feel encouraged to do so, because that has to be stated very clearly. The federal government obviously has a central role and responsibility in setting up this infrastructure, but we alone cannot make this a success. Only the EID is nice, sometimes useful, but there can be much more done with it, and that depends on everybody. Okay, to close, challenges, there are many. There is no doubt about it. I start with the political question. Most of you will remember in 21 there was a referendum on the first EID law. It has been rejected by a huge majority. I think, or we believe, that now we have a much better proposal, which is in line with the political demands from that time, but still, politics are politics. So we have to first go through the Federal Council, then through the Parliament, and maybe also through a referendum. Then the whole technology, clouds, I mean, not cloud in the sense of servers, but simply this whole topic is very challenging. The SSI approach is based on PKI, but it is a huge step forward. There is no established tech stack available today. There are many standards that have to be defined. This is in the making, but until 26, when we look at these huge questions, there's not much time. So we have to see how we can cope with this. Then, even if the law passes, even if we come up with infrastructure that works, but if it's not usable, if people don't understand it, if the app is too complicated, they will not use it. And maybe you have seen already by the explanation by Tim and also by me, it is not all trivial what we are trying to do. And there is quite a learning curve through which all of us have to go through. And this is another challenge. Then, as I mentioned, we hope that you will join as soon as possible so that we can build up this ecosystem. The state cannot force companies to use it. So there, we hope to offer attractive possibilities, but then companies and so on have to understand it and to invest. And finally, we are not planning to set up a Helvetic island. We want to be interoperable, at least in particular with the European Union, but hopefully also with other jurisdictions. And due to all these different issues, this is also not an aim that is easily achievable. We are working on it. By the launch in 26, if we are able to launch in 26, most probably there will be not yet international interoperability, but that is another aim that we are working on. Yeah. And by that, I think I have already used more than 10 minutes, and I would close and available for questions either now or later. I don't know exactly what the plan is.
One or two questions now, if you have. Having zero approach?
Yes, the EU is also working on exactly the same SSI concept. They have certain, they are, it seems that they will make certain decisions or which are not exactly as we are doing it, but the overall concept is very similar, and they're investing a lot of money. And yes, yeah, definitely. Yes, please, and then you.
Simple question on the trust infrastructure you have bottom. How much is that overlapping with what EU is building? Because that is also very key for interoperability.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I mean, ideally, excuse me. If I go back, you're talking about this, right? Ideally, if the whole world goes SSI, then these registries are able to speak to each other in one way or another, but they do not need to be all on one. And even from a Swiss point of view, it is not yet totally clear how many registries there will be in the end. For sure, there will be one base registry and just one, but on the trust registry, that's not clear if it has to be one or if there can be several ones. And one is governed by the government, and another one is governed by a sector, like the financial sector or so on. That is not yet clear. And here we also have to balance this ecosystem buy-in on one hand, and then costs and bottlenecks and other things. But I don't think that there will be one global registry, but hopefully these registries are.
No, I didn't expect the one, but what progress in terms of.
No, definitely. That is the key. So that when you go to Germany, for example, and you present your Swiss credential, so that then the German or the EU verifier is able to verify your Swiss credential and has somehow access to this registry, and is also, from a regulatory point of view, allowed to accept it. Okay, another question here.
Don't you think that your time frame is a little bit sporty from the political point of view?
It's super sporty, no doubt about it. We failed already once, at least, because actually we wanted to bring the draft law and the message into the Federal Council these days now, after the regress from summer, and we had to postpone to the end of the year. And again, I mean, if you look at these challenges, there are obviously many showstoppers, or at least points that can delay things. But on the other hand, we cannot go slowly for a number of reasons. And if you don't have tight deadlines, nothing is going to move. It might sound a little bit arrogant or so, but when we are really able to realize our vision, then we are building another tunnel through the Gotthard. But I mean, this is the kind of dimension or the impact on Switzerland that it will have. And once you see the message later this year, and where you see what investments we are planning or are required, they are really quite impressive. And we are operating in many ways under not optimal circumstances, because we have to do this, as I mentioned, the tech stack is very moving. In the same time, we are in the federal government. There are lots of rules and procedures that we have to observe. We cannot simply do anything. So it's really a challenge. But my belief is either we really go full in and try to do it the best way. And obviously, what shall I say? You know, when we talk, for example, about the wallet, on day one, the wallet will not offer already all the functionalities that we are dreaming of. It will not be possible to develop all this by then, and it probably would be also too much for the user if it would be already offering too much. So there is also a certain scale-up plans, but certain steps have to be done.
So I would, from a time management perspective,
Anytime.
and we have later also the panel discussion where Rolf is still there. And with this, Sebastian, Hepp, I want to pass to you to give us a more legal perspective on all of this, and you also introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Sebastian Hepp. I'm a lawyer at MME, and I work in the practice group Blockchain DLT FinTech. And this presentation is about zero knowledge proofs in KYC procedures. I will give you a short overview of technical aspects of zero knowledge proofs, the different use cases we have, and the Swiss regulation. So as Tim mentioned before, zero knowledge proofs are cryptographic protocols that allow one party to prove to another party that a statement is true without revealing the information behind it. This concept was already introduced in 1985, but has gained new attention with the development of blockchains. The characteristics of zero knowledge proofs are useful in applications where privacy and security are essential. And why do we need zero knowledge proofs? The rise of the blockchain technology and cryptocurrency has brought new challenges in terms of privacy and security. Public blockchains are transparent by design. This is problematic from a privacy point of view, as whenever someone transfers assets to another address or interacts with a smart contract, the transaction will be forever visible on the blockchain. Zero knowledge proofs as applications on blockchain solutions have emerged as a powerful tool to address these challenges. So the use cases of zero knowledge proofs on blockchains are verifications on transactions on blockchains without revealing the sensitive data such as sender, recipient, amount, or the wallet address. There's also proof of assets with zero knowledge proofs without disclosing the exact amount of the asset. For example, ING Bank uses zero knowledge proof to verify that a customer has sufficient funds for a loan, for example, without the need to disclose the salary or the assets. And another use case is the improvement of scalability with zero knowledge rollups, whereby transactions are rolled up off-chain to a single block, which is then verified and approved all simultaneously in one transaction. And finally, we have the zero knowledge proofs in Know Your Customer procedures called CKYC, which is a new technology that could be used by entities such as financial intermediaries to verify the identity of their customers without collecting unnecessary personal data. CKYC could address the privacy challenges on the blockchain as no sensitive information are transferred. The following regulations are applicable on CKYC or are in question: the Anti-Money Laundering Act, Data Protection Act, and Sanction Law. Swiss AML regulation applies to financial intermediaries and natural persons and legal entities who are commercially active in the trade of goods. When establishing a new business relationship, the financial intermediary must verify the identity of the customer on the basis of a document like a passport or a driver's license. The goal of zero knowledge proof is to eliminate the need to exchange such personal data. This is contrary to the requirements of the current legal situation and violates the principles of AML regulation regarding the identification and reporting obligations. Accordingly, the onboarding of customers with CKYC procedure is not possible under the current AML regulation. So alternative approaches are required. One is the introduction of compliance oracles. On onboarding new customers by a central trusted company which stores all personal data, the reusability is improved and the storage of data. Another use case would be the access to DeFi protocols for regulated institutions, like liquidity pools or Uniswap. There are regulatory tendencies to require financial intermediaries to identify each individual user or address before granting own customers the access to DeFi protocols. Also, in this case, the zero knowledge proof technology could apply. Hence, a financial intermediary does not need to know the name of each individual user or address using a DeFi protocol. With the zero knowledge proof technology, the financial intermediary could verify all the users that have to be identified and all the wallet addresses that are not tainted. However, it remains to be seen how regulators will react on such cases of zero knowledge proofs, as there are no international standards for such approach as up to this date. The Data Protection Act applies to persons who process personal data. Personal data is all information relating to an identified or identifiable natural person. Transactions on blockchains are in general transparent and with the technical know-how, conclusions about the person behind the transaction are easily possible. The characteristics of blockchains, such as transparency and the unchangeability of transactions, and the data protection principles, such as the right to correct false or delete personal data, are generally incompatible. Zero-knowledge proof could be a solution to this problem. As this technology, no personal data will be visible on blockchains, and therefore the data protection law does not apply at all. And finally, sanction law. For Swiss companies, it is prohibited to make business with persons and companies listed on sanction lists. Generally, Swiss companies have the obligation to identify every new customer with whom they want to make business. In Switzerland, there are no formal requirements for the customer identification process in sanction law. Accordingly, zero-knowledge proofs could be used under the current legal regime in Switzerland to check whether a person or a company is on a sanction list or not, before entering into a business transaction with a new customer. So zero-knowledge proofs in connection with blockchains offer many good and interesting use cases, but from a legal perspective, there are a lot of open questions. However, in my opinion, zero-knowledge proofs will become more important in the future, especially with regards of privacy of transactions on the blockchain. Just 2 weeks ago, Vitalik Buterin, founder of Ethereum, and Fabian Scher, professor at the University of Basel, just published a paper with the title Blockchain Privacy and Regulatory Compliance, which addresses zero-knowledge proofs as a means to improve privacy on blockchains. Accordingly, it will be exciting to see the more developments in this field. Thank you very much for listening and your attention. Thanks. Questions?
For the anti-money laundering, is there any evolution planned in the coming months? Or?
Not really, or maybe even in the opposite. They still make higher standards in regards to KYC and identification of customers. So they even set the bars higher or make more strict regulations. So there's no really tendencies or developments in this field because it's also a very new technology, which must be their education is needed in this area.
So, if not additional questions, Sebastian will also be on the panel, so we have time to dig deeper into the legal aspects. And with this, we now have an online presentation, so no slides. Just here and switch to Zoom session, and then we can directly share your screen.
Perfect. It's working. Good.
Okay.
Nice to meet you. And first of all, very warm welcome also from Stephanie and myself from KYC Bible, but also from Tim and Tim from IMAX. Some of you have been here already last year, I would say about 10 months ago, when we presented you a couple of slides. So today we decided not to show any slide, but to show you how a real-life use case in that environment where not everything is fully clear can happen. And that's the reason why, together with our partner AMX, we are presenting you the front end. So I'm playing the user. I will do an identification on my own. You will see everything here. And then how can this be reused in a regulated use case? How is our approach there? So just to give you a bit how that could look like. I'm sure you have a lot of ideas as well, and more than happy as we will also then be part of the discussion afterwards to accept some challenging questions from your end. Yeah, do you want to?
Let's make right now we will show a live demonstration in 4 steps. Number 1 is our customer purchases a self-regulated product with a KYC. Step number 2 is then that we will perform this KYC lively and also do the screen share. Step number 3 is the wallet process to show how to make the KYC FINMA compliant reusable. And number 4 is to prove this reusability with a second regulated product.
Quite complex, but let's start at the very initial use case. Honestly, I had to identify myself at least 5 times in the last 3 months somewhere in the internet because of any service. And here we have a service around signature, e-signature, where as soon as you go to a certain security standards, you need to validate that you are you or I am I in the sense of identification. So actually, that's the first use case where I'm going to register myself for this on this e-signature platform. You will see me typing a bit, so apologize. I still am able to do the 12-10 finger system, but not so fast as all the time in all the times. However, I guess you have the same challenge as well.
Make it more challenging. Are these e-signatures according to CRS? No qualified.
It's possible to kind of generate a qualified signature out of this, because we have a certain KYC on a certain level, but work is to position the digital signature that is based on a number 1 reusable compliant KYC in combination with the biometric authorization liveness data of the signature as a third alternative next to the basic signature and next to the basic signature, the qualified signature. So right now we are in the process to make both possible for this e-sign product to sign. Regarding the text stack that you mentioned before, just that you know this, we have a DID method that is registered with the World Wide Web Consortium as a blockchain agnostic DID method. And right now, we are the only one in the world that can do it this way. Now we have a partner, a company that makes it possible that we can read, this means resolve 55 DID methods, and we can write verifiable credentials that are derived from a KYC on 8 various DID methods. So the goal is always to be very open and interoperable.
I'm still here. I stopped at one point because that could then be the linkage to the governmental wallet or to any other wallet. I could add here already in the process an own wallet. I'm not going to do that right now because we saw there is still some time ahead until that will be published. However, the possibility to add own wallets obviously is given. I will use the wallet from IMAX from a demo purpose. So I leave that by purpose empty.
No, it's very small. It might just be me, but I think it's more for me.
Anyway, it's only my private data, so it's all good. Actually, I added my real data because we are going to identify that with the real data. So somehow by purpose, apology for that one. But actually, I just entered name, address.
Gives you address afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. The usual standard. The IBAN is not mine, so please don't send any money to it. Sure.
Maybe one more topic. It's also possible to verify the wallet that you are using by a very simple procedure using this technology. Wallet means that you have to enter your wallet address, and then you have to wire a certain currency amount from your own wallet to your own wallet. This is so-called dust matching. So by paying, for example, 0.0067 ETH, you would then prove, if you do it from your own wallet, that you control this wallet, and via a blockchain viewer, we can then check whether this has been done successfully, and therefore we can then link your wallet to your KYC.
I'm still here in the identification. Actually, I'm just going to switch the device because my camera on the notebook is not so good, so it would take quite some time. So actually, I'm going to share my mobile screen because there usually the cameras are better. It would in theory work, but it's a question on quality. So let's now move back here. I share my screen, and actually the only thing I need to do here is, and I'm sure you know that quite well, I accepted here that I can use my mobile phone. I'm gonna grant access to the camera, and I'm just screening that. Actually, that step should be eliminated then from the online video, even though my password is almost expired, but we will take that away. And we are going now to check that. So here the date, I'm just skipping it, and the selfie, where obviously we need to make sure that I'm not using a picture. So I'm ready. And actually, it should be more or less done. You see success. So as a user, the identification is done, which means I'm going to stop screen sharing here. I'm moving back to the larger screen. And here we are there. So what did I do now? I did identify myself, obviously, security, liveness, that I'm a human being and not a picture. And we have created my identity. So what happens now? Obviously, I could do the e-signing process because I've registered there, still in this DocuFi product. On the other hand, I can also download and install the wallet. And I can pass my identity into that wallet. Obviously, the wallet could be done on the mobile phone. Here, I'm using the browser plugin, because actually I'm now on the desktop, and it's more convenient for you to see it in a full screen. So actually here I have already installed the browser plugin. If I would not have done, I can copy that in, and then I would get here the data directly into my wallet. Obviously, some more data, it depends what are you going to share. Why did I do that? I'm already prepared for my next use cases because I was complaining I had to identify myself so many times. And that is what I want to avoid, because I have now done a proper identification. Obviously, we can agree there on which standard. We would rather go here for from a security perspective. I'm looking to Martin from our partner Intom in that area. We can do that on a banking grade identification. And then obviously you can use that for also lower key use cases. If you identify at the lower level, obviously you can use it in the same level or below, but never above. So the next use case is, I have done that. As usual, I'm going to another website. I'm now would be an e-commerce case. In that sense, we are using here a real case with a German mobile provider. And with the German mobile provider, actually, I get through this wallet, I can claim a discount, which should lead me to a better price. So I have a benefit. Yeah, sure.
So right now we are at the step number 4. So right now we are showing the benefits of the reusable KYC. And the second benefit is that you do not always need to fill in forms again, because we can reuse, or you can reuse the data that you have already shared via the KYC. This saves you time, certain other benefits. If we remember how Tim started with this trust of trying, where we had various parties involved, the key to unite them all to do what they are supposed to do is a financial motivation. And I'm mentioning this because we have just seen on the top right, there was a little screen saying discount available. Discount available means that you have the benefit as the customer next to usable KYC and one-click form filling, that you receive a cashback because you purchase a product, and this product has a certain sales commission. In this case, for example, for this mobile phone plan, we get 57 euros sales commission, and 25% go to the user. So basically, whenever you purchase a product online, there's usually a sales commission. We just share the sales commission always with you, with the user. This is the thing behind it. Then maybe to build a bridge to Sebastian, that he has said before that independent of fabulous technology proof or zero knowledge proof, how fascinating this must be, we all live in a physical world. Right? The lawmaker says you need to have the KYC file on your servers. You just have to fulfill this goal, because otherwise the KYC is not reusable, as stated in the beginning. This is the main reason for the cooperation that we have with KYC Spider, because in this concept, self-sovereign identity, meaning that you own and control the data, you delegate your KYC file to a certain entity of your choice. In this case, for example, to the German telco, because in Germany, postpaid is regulated, so they need the KYC file on the records. And maybe the KYC that you have used with the RegTech, like KYC Spider, is 3 months old. And then they need to kind of update certain modules in this KYC. Maybe a new proof of address, maybe a new money laundering check. This can be done. So the core element is independent of technology, how fascinating this may be. We must ensure that there's a triangular contract where you being a verifier, let's say an online bank that sells online loans, or when you have a regulated product, and you always need to be part of this triangular contract with a verification partner requested by law, also sharing this KYC file. Just that you please remember this as one key takeaways, independent of all the decentral benefits. In order to be compliant, you need to have a KYC file on your servers. We make this possible from this architecture view by the delegation of the KYC file.
And actually, I need to delegate it. Yes, you cannot do it for me because it's my data, self-sovereign. And that's what I'm going to do. Actually, I ask now, I want an order, this product. And what happens now? The wallet connector asks me whether I'm willing to share some data. Here I have only a few data I want to share with NDDE. You might know that from logging with Apple ID, logging with Google ID. I mean, that's the traditional big data you can reuse to do certain logins and to reuse your data. And obviously there I never received any kickback by using my Apple ID, because Apple gets the kickback, or Google. And here, obviously, as I'm sharing my data from my own wallet, I get a certain benefit, and I still don't need to fill out the form. So that's why I'm connecting, I'm getting name, I'm getting phone number. I didn't put in now all the stuff in, but actually I'm reusing now the data, and I delegated the KYC file to the German freenet provider that they can store it. That's what happened with my click before.
Maybe I can add one thing. You have to think about the data that is generated in the KYC, like certain data fields. And your website can then request 10 attributes, 15 attributes, depending on the jurisdiction where you're in, or the business model, what kind of information you need. Then the customer says yes or no. You say yes, and you have the right to exchange this data. Yes?
Quick question. There is basically your wallets, your data. I was a bit confused because you made the exception on the web browser and on your mobile.
Yeah. So from the architecture, there's a DIT, of course. This is like a certain persistent identifier that always points to your wallet. And this DIT has a document that describes in this DIT, this verifiable credential, which information is included. Because you have to always look at the DIT with the eyes of a verifier, like you are the bank. Maybe when you're a bank, you need a FINMA compliant KYC, you need 25 data fields, and maybe it may not be older than 3 weeks. The DIT then does is shows whether this information is in the verifiable credential or not. The credential itself is only in the smartphone, or not on the blockchain, and it is only disclosed with the entity of the choice of the holder. And the filling in of the data is something optional. This is something that you can either type in, or you can use like this simple way of one-click form filling. Verifiable credential is for the eyes of verifier, verifiable. This means you can check whether Tim Heidfeld has put in the exact same data with a rectangle provider. So you can check this. And because you have successfully delegated the KYC file, maybe you want to run a certain update or also upgrade. Let's say you have started with a level 2 KYC from FINMA, and you're a bank, and we say, did you identify?
Okay, basically, the data is in the wallets, and
the data is in the wallet,
and you accept the provision, the disclosure of data from the wallet.
That's exactly why I re-entered here, because exactly here is this click connect. I mean, I see what data am I granting, to whom am I granting it, and by clicking here, actually me as a user is sharing the data which is in my wallet with Handy EE, which is the free net. And at the end, that brings me to change perspective and head, because now as a user I'm done. I should get hopefully my nice plan, whatever. Now, if I am now free net, I'm obliged to store data, I'm obliged to keep record. That's actually the, now I'm changing really the head, I'm going away from me as a user, I'm jumping in free net. In some of you might know in the KYC Spider toolbox, and here I have actually now the data which has been produced as an identification confirmation. So I have shared this data, which I did before with Freenet, and that's now in Freenet, their storage. So that would also be the case, actually, if we would approach a Swiss regulated. Any bank, whatever, they would finally have a complete KYC file stored 10 years after close of the relation. And actually, it shouldn't be visible anymore how that has been created, because we just learned you cannot share a zero knowledge proof in Switzerland. So obviously that's not a zero knowledge proof, but I have accepted that my data goes there.
There's also a financial motivation to convince the regulated entities like banks or telecommunication companies in order to share the KYC that they have paid with certain other entities. Usually we would not do this, right? Because we have, we had the costs and then we wouldn't share it. But for the same principle, from the perspective, you as the holder gets 25% of the sales commission from your online purchase. The same model, we share 50% of the sales commission lifetime with a partner who has paid the KYC in order to have a financial motivation, to have lifetime revenues. So whenever you purchase online, bank or the telco partner has this benefit that the financial cake is shared in a fair way.
Yeah, I'm clicking stop the sharing because actually that was one use case. I'm sure now you have a lot of additional use cases in mind, and I think we will have a discussion around application of what we have just learned now.
Yeah, I think we thanks again for the It's always good to also see this kind of live use cases and not always talking about what could be done perhaps in 5 years. Yeah, but with this, I would like all the speakers to come up here. Let me just blank this and grab a chair. And the right. So we had our journey from from a first technology perspective, and so from the technology over what's going on in government, legal, and then a live use case. And to start off this panel and welcome you all, I would have in one sentence from all of you what is fascinating about self-sovereign identity, KYC, and zero knowledge proof. Would you like to start?
This technology makes it possible that you can treat the internet like you are logged in.
No. Thinking as a user, I only want to log in and prove my identity once I do demos, but I don't want to do it privately for other purpose. So I want to reuse what I have done multiple times already.
The cool thing about this is that the control goes back to the people, and they can decide which information they want to share and to whom they want to share. What?
For me, this is a base layer to actually bring also the government, the state, still adhering to principles of democracy, state of law, and others into the digital age. And by doing so, to actually refresh and evolve these sometimes thousands of years old ideas into digital age. I think that is really fascinating.
Thank you. So we're all positive about it, and just stick with you, Rolf. You mentioned usability and also security. And I think now when we go to the public and away from all those tech guys that are really enthusiastic about this technology, how do you convince the Swiss public and people that this is secure and also that this new technology is an improvement?
Obviously, we have to build trust. We trust in things and people because they do not make declarations and they talk, but because they do things. Trust is based on actions, not on words. And our challenge is that we are now coming with something quite new. And in the beginning, we only can talk about it. But by having a sandbox, by starting with pilots and other stuff, we are trying to already start doing things. And by doing so, first to build trust in the nerd community like you, so that you also can help to spread the word, and then go from there. We believe that the success requires obviously that there will be clear use, clear advantages, be it a discount or simply a very much easier way of getting proofs and doing transactions. And from our point of view, it is clear at the launch, we need not only the EID, but also a number of other verifiable credentials that are easily obtainable and also then usable. And by doing so, we hope to create a snowball effect and to convince people that it's just a no-brainer to have it. But that is a big challenge.
And we're all working towards this. So Sebastian, you mentioned that zero knowledge proof at the moment, there is no legal basis in Switzerland, or we're working on this. Also, when we look internationally, do you have a view of how we stand here in Switzerland compared to other countries and how other countries are working on this topic?
Well, specifically on zero knowledge proofs, there's no, I think, like regulatory aspects, or like the regulators don't really look at this technology at the moment. But what we see is really like on applications on the blockchain, such as zero knowledge rollups, to better the scalability and to do more faster transactions and which are not as expensive. So there are some applications, but as I see it on the regulatory side, it's just a new technology which we need more education and educate the people that it's safe. Also, zero knowledge, as it says, is really technical, and there's an algorithm, it's mathematics, and there's still a way to go.
What if you want to add?
Yes, I would disagree that the regulator is not looking into this topic. It is true, if you look at the pre-draft of the law, which has been submitted to public consultation last year, and which is the last public available document on our opinion. I cannot disclose now how the draft law will look like, but in the pre-draft, you don't find the term zero knowledge proof. But in particular, in the public consultation, there was one topic very heavily discussed, and it is also the reason why we had to postpone now going into the Federal Council, and this is what we call in German Überidentifikation, which is the phenomenon that when a verifier asks for data that he or she is not supposed to ask for, or which is an excess. Simple example, I want to buy chewing gum on the internet, and I have to disclose my age. I mean, why? This would be overuse of this infrastructure. And there have been raised a lot of concerns that we are now setting up an infrastructure which allows to constantly ask for a lot of good data, always approved by the government. And this is obviously not the aim of the state. We don't want to build the totally transparent individual. We don't want to set up a surveillance state. So in that sense, we are trying to come up with technology neutral regulation that makes sure that we are getting as close as possible to zero knowledge proofs without calling it exactly that way. But that is really already from a legal point of view, a very tricky thing. And then it is also from a technological point of view, not so easy. Obviously, within the blockchain community, zero knowledge proofs is something which everybody talks about and so on. But when you look at the different tech stacks I mentioned to you, not all handle zero knowledge proofs the same way, or are able to actually provide them, or to provide them in an efficient way. So at the moment, there are also quite heated debates between our lawyers and the coders who say, I mean, you know, you have this nice law which says no Überidentifikation, but with this tech stack, we simply cannot provide zero knowledge proofs. So it's really quite tricky. And I can guarantee you, not sleepless nights, but we're definitely talking about it.
I just add one thing.
Sure.
I was talking about the regulated sector and like regarding of AML regulation. So of course, zero knowledge proof is applicable in like e-commerce or something, or as you said, if you want to buy chewing gum or like alcohol is such an example. You don't need the exact age. You just have to know that the person is over 18. So there, of course, you can use the zero knowledge proofs.
Okay, thanks for these insights. So coming to the demo and the application we've just seen, you just showed the use case with German telecom provider as a possible client customer. How many other customers do you already have?
So one question before was, how do you make it possible that a product like this gets really usage? We all use it, and we follow the strategy of a book called Crossing the Chasm that basically describes certain procedures, hypotheses. You have a high-tech product with the chance to be disruptive. How do you sell this product? So to make a long story short, we have to be the market enabler so that people use it. Therefore, we started with a solution that you would probably think about. This is email. So with email, we have provided a solution where you log in with your wallet, very secure. No username, no password. It's just that you reuse your KYC and the biometric authorization to log in. Very, very secure. Number one is DocuFile solution that you have seen, also a product from us where you can sign. And product number 3 is a certain SIM card that you can also purchase online. Number 4 is the KYC verification platform, software as a service that we provide is a commodity. So it's very comparable. It's like sugar, white, histamine, sweet. So they're the key differentiator for a KYC that is performed millions of times worldwide is the price. And the benefit that we have together with KYC Spider, that we can offer this KYC solution to a very low price. Just to mention something, it's between like 3 to 5 euros, and we are still heavily profitable on this. So the solution that we see is to provide simple products that even my mother can use, purchase something, be successful, get a free cappuccino at Starbucks, that she really has a benefit to use it. And also, the cashback is important in this case.
Thanks. So now I would like to open it up because also Rolf has a strict time limit. Do you have any questions?
Yes, will the EID kill the KYC and the e-signing one day? Is this the idea that I can use my EID for everything? I don't need those guys. I need your solution. Why should I do it 3 times a KYC if I have already my EID?
Perfect. It's just another source, and you reuse it and you reuse it and reuse it. Because we don't.
Which one?
The EID, as soon as it's there, we are more than happy because right now it's not there. So actually you need to go through video or online identification procedures. We already want to go the direction that you only do it once and then reuse it. And once you have the EID, actually use that one as for the identification. But you still need to decide which data you want to share in a shopping use case, because you need to decide on your own in a self-solvent scenario. And for us, it's just another channel. And obviously, the EID, 2026, let's assume you start then issuing it. But my passport will expire, as you might have seen, in January next year. So I need to renew it next year. I'm too early. He needs to motivate me that I'm going to do that in 2026. Otherwise, I wait another 9 years. And then so long I cannot use it. So I think that's the start of EID, and until you have a 50% coverage, it will take another 5 years.
Just to add, the EID will not kill KYC. I don't know who said it, but somebody mentioned the KYC consists of 26 attributes or something. The EID will provide maybe 10 of these attributes, or 8, I don't know. Obviously the name, the surname, the date of birth, and so on. But then other financial related information, which is really the core of the KYC, the EID definitely is not going to provide. So even the money laundering person has a EID, obviously, maybe, but that doesn't mean that they also get a clean KYC.
There are no plans to widen that, and or people can widen their own EID with stuff like that.
We have to be very clear. The EID is the digital equivalent of your identity card or of your passport. It contains more or less exactly the same data as on your plastic card or in this red booklet, the passport. But in your passport, there is no KYC information. I mean, the financial part of it. And the EID will only contain this information. Then maybe the KYC in the future will also include the debt registry information or the Strafregisterauszug, you know, the
crime records.
Crime records, thank you. These are other electronic proofs issued by other state issuers, such as the Federal Office of Justice for the crime record. But it is not the electronic proof of the electronic identity. It's another electronic proof. You understand?
Yes, I would have loved you to convince me to use the EID, but so far I have no use case for it.
Well, in many cases, you need the EID to initiate in the future the KYC process or to get the crime record and so on. Because otherwise you don't have the first step required to actually prove digitally that you are who we are.
But we still will have the card. You will not make the card obsolete with that.
Yes, you will still have the card, but try to get a crime record without media rupture with your card. Then you either have to go to a counter or you have to print something out, send it by mail, and so on. Definitely, the electronic identity will not replace the analogous official documents such as the passport or the identity card. It will not replace it, but it will make it possible to transact in the internet without media ruptures.
Think on e-voting, or look to Estonia, for instance. I mean, they are quite ahead, and they had 44% e-votes in the last election, 2019. That only works if you have an EID. As far as I remember, they granted a better price if you ask for the package, passport, ID, and EID, you got a discount. If you didn't take the EID, you paid more. So actually, there are also then ways to sell it to the public. And I agree, it's a chicken egg topic. Having use cases, having infrastructure, you need to have both.
Yes, maybe just to add a little bit of information to this point. So, in order to be eligible for electronic identity, you need to have a passport or an identity card of foreigners, a foreign resident permit issued by a Swiss authority. If you don't have one of these documents, you will not be able to get an electronic identity. And the electronic identity will always have the same validity as the analogous document. So if the infrastructure would be already up and running, we could order today an electronic identity and it would be valid for 2 more months or whatever it is. And then the passport would not be valid anymore and the electronic identity as well. Now, if you will need a new passport soon and you will have to pay for that. Once you have paid for the passport, maybe also for the identity card, the electronic identity will be free. There will be no additional cost for you.
And also no discount.
He will not receive it automatically. He has to say, "I want it," right? If it's still
Yes, exactly, because this is the
the
self-sovereign. This is the self-sovereign aspect of it. Because if we could somehow push the electronic identity to you without you allowing it, then where would be your sovereignty?
So this kind of great Estonian way, I think this will be the way to go. Otherwise,
well, in Estonia, the electronic identity is mandatory. Everybody has to have one. In Switzerland, we don't have such a rule. You are not obliged to have an identity card. You're not obliged to have a passport, and you will not be obliged to have a electronic identity. This is our liberal, democratic, or however you want to call it, approach. I would like to remind you, we had another vote a few more years ago about the biometric passport, which by a very small margin almost was rejected because of the chip. The Swiss approach to documents is different than the Estonian one. You might disagree or not, but we believe that it would be suicidal to state by law that the electronic identity.
No, it was just the incentive. The incentive was that you get a discount if you add the EID to your passport. So
yes, and there again, the discount that we offer is ease of use. For example, you can. Our plan is that when you get your first EID, you can very easily also get your driving license on your mobile. And from that moment on, you can drive your car only with your mobile. You don't have to carry on with your physical wallet and the plastic driver's license, for example. And we believe that many people by now walk around only with their phone because you can pay, you can call, you have everything on it, and also your mobile driver's license, which you have to have all the time when you drive. We believe that this will be one of the main boost elements.
Another question. Will there be any relation between the reference wallet and qualified signature provider?
Very good question. So the electronic identity is obviously not an electronic signature. However, it was already proposed in the pre-draft law that the law on electronic signatures will be amended in the sense that who has EID provided by the federal government can go to a trust service provider and ask for a certificate to sign in a qualified manner without additional onboardings or other steps. But there will be a clear distinction from a regulatory and also from technical point of view between the EID and the signature.
As I mentioned, so this is for the identification, fine. Between the reference wallet and the QTSPs, will there be any connections, possibility to sign from the wallet or no? The reference wallet.
What do you mean by the reference wallet? I'm not quite sure.
Because you are going to implement a reference implementation of a wallet.
Yes, the federal government will provide a wallet.
Okay, this one. So it will be possible to sign from this wallet or no?
No. But you can use your EID and present it to a trust service provider, such as Swisscom Group, Swisscom, or whoever it is, and they are allowed by law to accept the EID as identification, and then the signing process continues.
No direct connection, but the EID.
I'm not quite sure how we, from a usability point of view, how this will be done exactly. We will try to reduce the number of clicks as much as possible, but there will be a clear, the trust service providers are private companies, and the wallet is from the federal government. So we have to have somehow
So when the federal government provides a wallet, I presume the EID will be issued only in this one. I cannot choose another wallet to be issued. Right?
That's actually not exactly correct. What our current understanding is that you only can ask for an electronic identity with the reference wallet, if you will. this will be a native wallet, which allows us to control as much as possible your device and so on. However, at the end of the onboarding process, you will be asked, would you like to get your EID in the reference wallet or in another wallet? Sure. And then you can say, no, I would like to go to the IMAX or whatever wallet, and then that's up to you.
So basically, the issuance process is with your wallet.
Yes.
At the end of as an issuance and validity completed, there is an optionality to go to other wallets.
Yes.
This wallet will be validated. There will be a law that says that they have to have like an implementation that respects.
That is also a very good question, and there we believe that we will take a different approach as the EU. The EU currently, it seems, will certify wallets, and our understanding currently is that we will not ask for certifications.
Okay. So service is not required for the user.
Beg your pardon?
The service is not needed if you go via wallet and the EID. If I want to do it today with the KYC.
No, then it is up to a trust service provider, for example, to say, well, I accept only certain wallets, but that's then decision made by the verifier, not by us. And the idea, and then I really have to run, sorry about that, we have Elternabend with my kids tonight. The idea is, if we believe in self-sovereign identity and the control of your data, then you should be able to choose where you want to keep your data. And if we force you into a wallet or some wallets, you don't have full control. That is our understanding. It will be seen in the long run if that is a feasible approach, in particular in the context of international interoperability, because maybe then the EU will say, well, we accept only EU certified wallets and so on. So that is to be seen.
Thank you very much for.
We continue with the plan, but we don't want to
take you from your kids.
Thank you for your understanding, and I hope you share the slides. You find all my contact details. Please don't hesitate to call me, to write to me, and we really want to work with you.
Thank you. So we have a little bit more time before starting to the apero. And I want to go from, and you'll see that EID is really a topic that everybody is very interested in. And just a side note, if you're also interested in this whole identity topic, there is an organization, association, DIDA Swiss. We're focusing on digital identity, working very closely with Rolf and his team. And we'll also have next Friday a meeting in Lausanne. So if you want to join us. But now I want to come back to the KYC of this whole topic. Yeah, we said, okay, identity, that's a really crucial part, but then we want to have KYC. And my question would be, KYC, normally as a user, know it from the banks. You showed it, the telecom part. Can we use this for bank interactions? And do you also already have interests from banks?
Always have to check in the certain jurisdiction whether it's whether we're talking about a regulated entity or a regulated product. And for example, it's really varying a lot. So for example, if we stay in the telco and you would choose a prepaid phone plan in Germany, the lawyer requests a video ident. If you do a postpaid, you can do the auto ident. If you open a bank account in Switzerland, you need video ident. Therefore, KYC is comprised out of many modules, and they can have certain levels. And you can then kind of do the upgrade or the update the modules so that they always work. And one more thing that I think is important also regarding question that you gentlemen just had is that whether you as a company, you are the verifier, will accept a certain digital proof is completely your decision. So when you talk back with your legal and compliance team and they say it must be RegTech, it must be this and this, that, this is the only way that you judge those credentials, like you also do today. Therefore, the question is also not whether there is one wallet, if I may say this, or one verifiable credentials. It is more like multi-source, multi-credentials, and you as the bank, you as the regulated entity needs to decide whether you can work with this piece of data or not.
Thanks. Bruno, perhaps when we come to other industries, like we have the banks, perhaps insurance, we see telco, which other industries do you see where KYC and this tool really gets?
In principle, we are here since 20 years, KYC Spider, and actually we have a lot of banks, a lot of regulated financial institutions using, for instance, our toolbox to store KYC data. That's not changed. That's the only change actually is that if the end user allows, this data can also be used in a wallet. But all the rest stays still regulated as it is. For us, and that's a bit why we don't talk so much about the banks today, is actually, I think the banks are most regulated, and that makes innovation most difficult. So that's why shopping use cases, telco use cases, age verification, whatever, are much easier because there the regulatory framework is not so strict. And that's also why there we see obviously the early movers. So having a heavy identification at the bank might be reused for shopping, but I doubt that UBS would accept an identification done on an online shop, just to make it extreme. But the other way around, obviously, that could easily work.
Or could also be a use case for banks to do this first kind of support or.
Absolutely. I mean, we are in a number of also discussions. Actually, also open APIs is a topic in that, and obviously having Martin there. I mean, there are millions of identifications in regulated industries already available in Switzerland, and some, obviously, the larger scale players, they might think to monetize some of them. Others not yet, but that's definitely there are new business models coming up.
Maybe when I can add something, we have seen two industries that we did not pretend, to see before. One is travel, because in the KYC you have just seen that there was a face check, so those are so-called biometrics, and what is possible is to use the biometrics into a certain process. So you can, for example, rent a car at 6, just to give a simple example. And when the car is a Hyundai, you can open this car with your fingerprint, because your fingerprint belongs to your KYC. It also works in a hotel where you can open the door, or when you go to the airport, for example. So travel is one thing. And the second one are all business models where you need to protect that no bots are entering. Like, for example, Twitter is preparing a paywall to prevent bots. We have certain gambling websites, and companies need to protect that not bots get a certain welcome bonus to play. So we also use the KYC technology in order to prepare a verifiable, unique identifier. So as a gambling website, I do not need to know that my name is Tim Heidfeld and that I'm 50 years old, but maybe they want to know that I'm a human being, that I'm unique, and then they pay out the 200 euros bonus, and they want to see that I'm from Europe and not from Russia, for example, China. This is done, this is possible via this technology. So it's like a simple Minecraft building block. So it's technology neutral, you can kind of integrate it in many, many business models.
I mean, just this week, Singapore announced that in Changi Airport, you will be able to walk around without any identification anymore, because biometric recognition will be installed everywhere. So as soon as you have registered yourself there, you don't need to show any document, neither boarding pass nor passport. Obviously, you are observed by somebody.
The biometrics have one more benefit that my mother likes, and this is also something that I like. I'm not good in usernames, and I'm not good in passwords. This means before we founded this company, we used Dashlane and other services to remember the passwords. But when you look at, wallets, you have maybe heard those, very complicated seed phrases. And if you forget them, basically all your digital assets cannot be regarded by you. To make a long story short, is a possible. They have developed a solution to generate the password or the key phrase from your biometrics. This means you do not need to remember username and password anymore because it can be connected to multiple websites. This means you will not lose your face, your iris, your fingerprints, your voice, or various forms of unique biometric data points that make it possible for you to log in. This is a very big benefit because this completely eliminates username and password and makes it much, much more secure. With biometric authorization, just that you understand the benefit to you. Today, if you pay money from your bank account to another, you do this with a PIN or with a PIN that you receive on your phone, on your short message. But how good would it be if you only pay the 100 Swiss francs from your account to another one if you're not in the telephone? Yes, pay this. So this is the big benefit that you have, and this makes it basically not possible that you will have a fraud based off the theft of your identity. And worldwide, it amounts to 7% of the domestic product. So it's really a big fraud ticket that we prevent with this.
Yeah, so you speak about this new great world where we don't have any passwords, where we just nod into our phone. Usability. So to close up this panel, from my interest as the university, we've heard a lot of technology today, a lot of, also a little bit complex technology. What in one or two sentences would be your advice to us? What should we educate our students, or also in continuing education, to make the public ready for this kind of tools? And Sebastian, sorry if I start with you. You can also pick legal students.
Yeah. No, right. Just in general, I think education is important. Also, in connection with blockchains and wallets, you see that the transfer of control from service providers to the individuals brings risks with it. So I think education is really important by saving the private keys, the seed phrases. So I think, also at the universities, they need these technologies, these new technologies on the curriculum. So I think education is a key here.
Bruno? Start very pragmatic with today's situation, because I don't want to know how many students do have shared all their data to the Googles, the Amazons, the Facebooks of this world, or Insta, or whatever. Obviously, almost everybody. And I think awareness starts there, and self-sown means I get back some control. So to me, the situation is getting better, not worse. And I think that's something the student should take away.
Hey, Tim?
Yes, what I always like to say is that you have to talk to the fish, you have to talk to the bait. So you have to talk to the user. Which benefit does my mother want? Does she like one-click form filling? Everything with one click? Yes, not only on Amazon. Does she like that she does not have to do a KYC so many times? Yes. Does she like to save money? Yes. Does she like to receive cashback? So what I mean is we need to talk to the fish, to the bait, and then to do a joint business development to provide simple benefits for the target group. Develop with them the product based on just the commercial success and the other benefits that you have. And by this goal, to make it possible that you become a de facto standard by usage.
So thanks again to our speakers. They're still around, so now we would like to invite you to the upper just outside and take the chance to network, to connect to all the speakers, and also we need you. Thanks again.
Perfect.